All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're diving into an absolutely fascinating idea from Dr. Joe Dispenza's work. What if I told you that the most powerful pharmacy in the entire world isn't in a building somewhere, but it's actually right between your own two ears? We're going to explore how this incredible internal pharmacy actually works.
I know, it sounds a little bit like science fiction, doesn't it? But this is the big question we're unpacking today. Can our thoughts, just our thoughts alone, create real, profound physiological changes in our bodies?
Okay, so first things first, let's get on the same page with the placebo effect. We've all heard of it, right? It's that wild phenomenon where someone can get better from a fake treatment, like a simple sugar pill, just because their mind is 100% convinced it's the real deal. Their belief itself becomes the medicine.
And this is a huge deal in clinical trials. Scientists will give one group the real drug with all the active ingredients, and they'll give another group a placebo that has absolutely nothing in it. They're trying to see if the real drug actually works better than just the power of belief. But here's the crazy part. A lot of the time, the placebo group gets better anyway, sometimes dramatically better. So how in the world can a simple belief create a real physical response in the body? Well, this isn't magic, it's neuroscience. And it all comes down to a fundamental process our brains are doing all the time: conditioning.
And the most famous example of this, the one that really laid the groundwork for understanding all this, comes from the scientist Pavlov and his experiments with dogs. It brilliantly shows how we learn to connect one thing to another.
Pavlov broke it down so simply. First, the dog sees food and naturally starts to drool. Pretty straightforward. Then, Pavlov introduces a bell. He rings it every single time he presents the food. He does this over and over and over again, forging a new connection in the dog's brain. And here's where it gets amazing. Eventually, the dog's body gets so conditioned that just hearing the bell is enough to make it start drooling, physically preparing for a meal that only exists as an idea in its mind. And this quote from Dr. Joe Dispenza just nails it. The dog's body wasn't just thinking about food, it was physically getting ready for it. It was living in that future experience before it even happened, all based on an external cue.
And guess what? We are exactly the same. When we see a pill that we believe will cure our headache, our body can be conditioned to kickstart the healing process all on its own, just from that association. That little white pill, that becomes our bell. Okay, now this is where the whole idea gets really personal. Because if our minds can be conditioned for healing, what else can they be conditioned for? It turns out this exact same incredibly powerful mechanism can also keep us completely stuck, creating this loop where we end up living in the past without even knowing it.
I mean, think about it. Your brain is basically an artifact, a living, breathing record of your past. So when you wake up in the morning, your brain's default setting is to just fire up all the old circuits connected to your old self.
Let's break this down into a really simple formula. Thoughts. That's the language of your brain. Simple as that. And feelings? Well, feelings are the language of your body. They're the chemical result of an experience. So, and this is the most important part, how you think plus how you feel equals your state of being. You can't separate them. And this creates a really powerful feedback loop. You wake up and your mind immediately jumps to your problems, which are really just memories of the past, right? Those thoughts then trigger a chemical reaction, and you start to feel those same old feelings: unhappiness, anxiety, worry. And now your body is literally chemically living in the past. And from that familiar state of being, we're conditioned to create a future that looks, well, exactly like our past.
So the big question is, how do we break this cycle? How do we stop being just a record of the past and start being the architect of our future? Well, thankfully, there's a formula for that. And it starts with flipping our whole approach upside down.
See, most of us live by cause and effect. We wait for something outside of us, a promotion, a new car, a relationship, to change how we feel inside. The external world causes an internal effect. But the real key to change is to flip that model, to cause an effect. That means changing how you feel on the inside first to create an effect in your outer world. And the formula itself is pretty simple, but its power is just incredible. Step 1, get absolutely crystal clear on the future you want to create. That's your intention. Step 2, and this is the absolute game changer, you have to generate the elevated emotion you would feel if that future had already happened. You teach your body what that future feels like, the gratitude, the joy, the freedom, right now, in this moment.
And then, step 3, you rehearse that combination of clear intention and elevated emotion over and over until your body is so conditioned that it starts to believe it's living in that new reality.
It's like Dr. Dispenza says, your healing doesn't start when the evidence shows up. It begins the moment you start feeling whole. The moment you feel abundant, you start generating wealth. You're teaching your body what the future feels like ahead of the actual experience.
And when you can master this internal process, you are literally becoming your own placebo. You're giving your body a new set of instructions for a new future, and it's responding as if it's already here. Now, why is this inner work so absolutely critical? Well, it comes down to this staggering number. By the time we're in our mid-30s, a full 95% of who we are is just a subconscious program. It's a memorized set of behaviors, automatic emotional reactions, and habits. So that means our conscious mind, the little 5% that wants to change, is constantly fighting against this giant 95% automated version of our past self. And this isn't just some feel-good idea. This is grounded in the hard science of epigenetics. Epigenetics shows us that we are not doomed by our DNA. It's our environment that signals our genes, telling them which ones to switch on and which to switch off. And since our emotions create the chemical environment inside our bodies, when we change our internal state, we are literally sending new signals to our DNA. We're changing our genetic expression for the better. And look, this isn't just theoretical. The results people have gotten are truly remarkable. In Dr. Dispenza's workshops, people with conditions many would consider permanent, things like Parkinson's, MS, stage 4 cancer, even rare genetic disorders, have created profound, measurable changes in their health just by doing this inner work.
So we'll leave you with this one final thought, a question that Dr. Dispenza often asks. If you're not being defined by a clear, emotionally charged vision of the future, then you are, by default, just being left with the memories of the past. The choice, it turns out, is ours to make every single day.